I'm Josh Wilson. I'm the Assistant Minister for Climate Change and Energy, and I think the forum is fantastic. I mean, it speaks for itself really to have something that in its 7th year has gone from 50 people to 500 people with First Nations Australians from right around the top end, WA, Queensland, here in the NT, coming and sharing their stories and learning from one another with respect to Savanna fire management, which is an Australian success story. The highlight for me was talking to Otto Campion from the Arnhem Land fire abatement crew. You know, they were right at the beginning of fire abatement that led to the method that we now use, and it was just lovely to hear from him about the benefits that it has brought to his communities and allowing First Nations people to practice their culture on country in a way that delivers such enormous benefits, obviously in terms of carbon emission reduction, preventing dangerous hot fires, but frankly all those other broader social, economic and cultural benefits. Seeing Suzanne Thompson, who's the first First Nations woman on the ERAC, you know, the advisory committee with respect to the ACU methods, was really good. And then the two forum conveners, Sissy Gore-Birch and Dean Yabarbak, you know, fantastic leaders. Always a privilege to hear from people like that about what they're doing and trying to learn in my role to be able to support them better over time. First Nations leadership is essential. It's one of the best things that we have going for us in Australia. Our First Nations heritage is our most precious heritage. It's a source of knowledge and wisdom that we have too often neglected. We are changing that, and we need to keep changing it because it offers us such a richness culturally, but clearly when it comes to carbon emission reduction and carbon sequestration and better biodiversity outcomes and fewer hot dangerous fires. Like the knowledge that First Nations people have and applied for tens of thousands of years was effectively not forgotten, but neglected and in some cases suppressed. And now over the last couple of decades, we've seen it being applied again, and the way that even Western science then comes using satellite technology and takes stock of that and is able to show that there's been this remarkable reduction in the severity of those kinds of fires, plus demonstrable reduction in carbon emissions, which we need to see happen if we're to be serious in tackling dangerous climate change. So First Nations leadership is essential. It's in keeping with Australia at its best. Our character at our best is about starting from this position as stewards of a remarkable continent in all of its diversity, land and sea country, island country in all of its diversity, and making sure that we respect that and apply that to the greatest degree possible. But then that preparedness to share it with the wider world, our region particularly, but obviously more widely than that when you consider that there are folk here from Brazil. And when I was talking to Otto Campion from Alpha, you know, he's actually been to Africa to help share some of his knowledge with African communities trying to better manage Savanna fire circumstances. You know, how good is that? Like it's amazing right here. But to be able to share that with other people as part of that global cooperative effort, I think that's Australia at its best. We hosted the sort of the inaugural Pacific regional meeting under the UNFCCC so that First Nations voices are better heard and better heeded in that task. I was lucky to be at COP recently in Baku last year. Suzanne Thompson was there with me and she did a great job. I think looking ahead, if Australia's fortunate enough to host COP31 in 2026, there's no doubt that one of the strongest elements of our pitch, of our offer to hold that important international forum is in partnership with the Pacific, drawing on the First Nations cultural strength and deep landscape stewardship knowledge that is present in the Pacific and certainly is present here in Australia. But we need to keep looking as a government to how we can include and elevate and amplify First Nations voices and First Nations leadership in that process and through those forums.